One of the things that's really different when you're kind of an amateur journalist or amateur commentator like what I do is that you have to wait throughout the entire day at your day job in order to get home, get past all the other things you have to do, grocery shopping. I had another event I was at today. You have to wait till you get past all that in order to get back home and do your work on what you want to talk about that day. And whether that's writing or even prepping for podcasts like this. And today I had that type of experience where I wanted to start right away, but I couldn't because, I was at work. When I saw this article that really, it set me off. It was like a rocket ship, where you just see concentrated in some sort of a nugget of arrogance, the type of culture that allows something like Harvey Weinstein to completely go over people's heads. So, why am I saying this? I'm not saying that people are claiming that Weinstein was innocent. I'm not saying that people are claiming that anything was justified. But all they care about is that now that it's been revealed that this one massive hole in their dam, which is just gushing water, now that it's been revealed how many things that he covered up in order to uh, conceal this entire industry of perverts and criminals, they want to throw it back immediately and say, oh, our accusers, they're not worth shit. They're the same type of people as us. So I did write a part one of my own blog, which is nowhere near to being done because there's just so much to put in, where I bring up the fact that they really do not get it. Okay, this is not a partisan issue of whether you belong to one party or another, uh, uh, of whether you should be outraged at the Democrats or not. If you're a Democrat and you're observing this issue with the Weinstein scandal, you should be very angry at the Democratic Party because this is a party that has championed since the probably the mid 70s the steadily progressing advance of feminism and the so-called equality movement, and they took it up as their standard. It's their they tried to own those values as if nobody else could come near them. And if you go further to the left, a lot of people, they claim that the Democrats are using the values of feminism to attack people further to the left. They claim that it was sexism that drew people to vote for Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton during the 2016 primaries. That's why they call Bernie Sanders supporters Bernie Bros. Okay, they always use sexism, even against people who are, for whatever other flaws you can call them, they are not sexist. They may have other issues with their thinking, but they're not sexist, so to speak, at least not in the way they're talking about. If you did not vote for Hillary Clinton, for example, that does not mean you're a sexist, because it's possible that you voted for Jill Stein or for Gary Johnson, who God knows what the fuck he is, because he's definitely not human. He's some sort of freak of nature in a bad way. This is one of the dumbest articles that I've seen. It says, "Save the phony Weinstein outrage Republicans." Now, what she? I guess if you want to take her side, she's directing her criticism not at the general outrage over Weinstein, but at Republicans that are outraged over Weinstein, and she doesn't get that this is a scandal that it far transcends anything that happened at Fox News or with Donald Trump that she brings up. Now, with Fox News, yes, there was cover-ups for years, although it hasn't been litigated to the end, of what happened with Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes. Recently, I think they were trying to accuse Sean Hannity of certain types of harassment. But what they neglect to mention is that, yeah, those were cases that were litigated in the courts. There were eventually settlements made. Roger Ailes is dead. Okay, that's over with. And Roger Ailes, for what it's worth, yeah, some of those people, by the way, that he allegedly created, they're still. What happened to them? They weren't discredited. Megyn Kelly, who, so far as I know, she wasn't one of the people. And if I'm wrong, you can come and correct me. Put it in the comment or whatever. Put a comment and tell me to look. I'll even look for it now. Megyn Kelly and Roger Ailes. I mean, it says that she may have gone because of Bill O'Reilly's behavior. But there's not much graphic content compared to what happened with Weinstein. There's emails and there's things like that. She says that there was conflict with Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly, maybe a bit of a hostile atmosphere. But we're not talking about rape. We're not talking about, in the case at least of Megyn Kelly, we're not talking about the type of systematic behavior that Harvey Weinstein had. And ultimately, yeah, Bill O'Reilly was forced out of Fox News. They had to pay a massive settlement. And he was raked over the coals, and the left danced on his ashes. They danced on his ashes. And I'm somebody, I used to be a viewer of the O'Reilly Factor. At a certain point, it got really old for me. So I don't care either way. Yeah, I think Bill O'Reilly, it's yet to be known whether he deserves the reaction that he did get, because we still have to act, even with Weinstein, on the principle of innocent until proven guilty. Now, why is Weinstein still different from that? Because a number of accusers and their fame is so breathtaking now. It's so amazing that I was looking at what's her name, Layla Seydoux. This was something that was widely known within not just one corporation, but within a wider industry, a massive industry of entertainment. And yet, this same industry of entertainment, which broadly claims to work towards the values of equity and tolerance and feminism and gender equality, they just let him go. They let him go for years and years. It's this disconnect, this divergence between the stated values of the industry and what they actually practice that's really the issue. It's not the issue of who. Yes, the Republican Party has endless issues with things like that, like Ailes and O'Reilly, and of course there were the accusations against Donald Trump last year. Which, by the way, if the media was so concerned about them, then how come you hear about the actual accusations less and less? And the New York Times was one of the papers that broke the allegations, but you don't hear about them as much, not nearly as much. You don't hear about any legal actions going forward lately. And this was something that broke out during the election. Okay, I'm not going to say that because of the timing, it automatically means that you can't believe the accusers because they're being opportunistic. But the fact that it happened during the election, that they were accusing him, and then since then there's been virtually no progress made in the public eye towards verifying or debunking these accusations. I mean, there's been attempts to debunk it, but the story just isn't there. They focus on the Russia story. They focus on the what's the other thing they accuse him of? The psychoanalysis. They keep going back to that now. This this group of psychiatrists and psychologists. They're trying to prove that he's unfit for office due to his mental condition. That gets far more traction in the press, in the mainstream press that's always attacking Donald Trump. So you can't accuse the Republicans of sweeping Trump's sexual abuse allegations under the rug, whether they're true or not, because they're the ones who have brought it up, but they've dropped the issue. They've dropped the issue. So inevitably, it's like they're throwing boomerangs all the time, and they're expecting somebody else to catch them. They don't want to catch their own boomerangs. That's the way the left is behaving in regards to these sexual assault allegations. And I'll tell you another thing. What she says here, she says that, at least Trump is consistent. He is a pig in public as well as behind closed doors. She's saying in contrast to Weinstein. Then she goes on to some of the, just some of these classic allegations against him due to his wife, first wife, Ivana Trump, and his second wife, Marla Maples. What happened due to those things? He had to give a settlement. That was a divorce. Okay, that was a divorce. He got a divorce in both cases because he cheated on them, and because maybe those allegations of abuse. Actually, with Marla Maples, there were no allegations of abuse. Just that he pressured her to pose nude in Playboy. Okay, that's not the same as what Harvey Weinstein did. With all due respect, it's not the same when your actual husband is an asshole, like Donald Trump was apparently, to Harvey Weinstein, who's basically acting like some sort of they've been showing him like Jabba the Hutt with Princess Leia. That is far worse than what Donald Trump was accused of and then the tape of him and Billy Bush. They always wave that around like that's some sort of smoking gun of anything. That was a tape that was released by NBC News, one of the same networks that covered up the the Harvey Weinstein allegations were covered up by NBC networks. Okay, so how is this? If you want to keep bringing up Donald Trump and his tape, then why is it that tape wasn't released in 2006 when Donald Trump was not a political figure? He was an entertainment figure. Instead, you release it in 2016. That is truly, I think it was actually 2005. They set 11 years on that tape. 11 years on that tape. That's the real point of it. It's 11 years where this liberal media, this liberal establishment media, it sat on that tape and it didn't reveal anything about Donald Trump. It sat on the Weinstein story because they didn't give air to Ronan Farrow, who apparently had the story for I think it was 2 years, and they squelched it. Doesn't she think that that's a little more of an issue than Roger Ailes, who was forced out of Fox News, Roger Ailes, who ended up dying, who was much older than Harvey Weinstein, and remember, Harvey Weinstein was victimizing women that were both powerful and anonymous, and he was doing it in much more public ways than Roger Ailes. For that matter, much more public way. Herman Cain, another guy that was accused, a Republican that was accused of sexual assault allegations, or I think it wasn't even sexual assault. It was just improper sexual behavior. Nothing ever came of it. No lawsuits were ever brought. They were just dropped after he dropped out of the 2012 presidential campaign. Don't you think that that's really an issue there? And she says here, still, Weinstein's disgrace is a sign that even if patriarchal sociopathy is more pervasive than we like to imagine, it can be defeated when a culture adopts other values and is forced to live up to them. After decades in which Weinstein cavalierly, I didn't know that she used the word cavalierly. That kind of figures into what I wrote. Destroyed women's lives, his impunity has come to an end. He has lost his job and been expelled from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. France has taken steps to strip him of his Legion of Honor award, the country's highest civilian distinction. He is being repudiated for violating progressive ideals about sexual consent, workers' rights, and the fundamental equality of men and women. The people now ruling this country don't share those ideals. Yes, Ailes had to leave Fox News after charges that he demanded sexual favors from women in exchange for professional opportunities. But in the aftermath, conservatives did not ostracize him. What was there to ostracize? The man was old and dying. I mean, it's not like he was swinging around on trees like Tarzan. Instead, Trump defended Ailes and defamed his accusers, then brought him on as an advisor. Most Republican voters and office holders, in turn, implicitly condoned Trump's treatment of women. No, they simply have first of all, again, let me return to the beginning. When these things happen, you do have to start, at least at the beginning, with a presumption of innocence, okay? Then you have to assess the facts. Now, yes, Donald Trump was accused by a number of women of sexual assault. Since then, what progress has been made? Well, you tell me. I don't know. On the other hand, the Clintons have had decades of it, and that's what I go into to some degree. Why that case, the Clinton case, is worse in several ways than the well, not maybe even the Weinstein case, but worse than the Trump case. First of all, the Clintons were accused by law enforcement. First, okay, the Arkansas State Troopers. Okay, let me give you their names. I think one of their names was Larry Patterson. Yeah, the Arkansas State Troopers that were assigned to him from 1979 to 1993 said their official duties included facilitating Clinton cheating on his wife. Okay, and they were instructed. What is this fucking ad here? I don't give a fuck about John Carpenter. Troopers Larry Patterson and Roger Perry said their official duties include facilitating Clinton's cheating on his wife, a source said, and they were instructed by Clinton on a regular basis to approach women and solicit their telephone numbers. Okay, this was by a sitting politician. Okay, this is worse than somebody in private industry. Patterson so despised Bill that he released an audiobook called More Than Sex, in which he said the Clintons have an open marriage and that Bill's cadre of state troopers were little more than pimps for Clinton's sexcapades. The pair also ferried Bill to illicit hookups and watched out for him during sexual encounters, they said, and lent him state cars so he could slip away and visit women unnoticed. So these are law enforcement officials. Let's be clear here. You want to talk about Donald Trump? Fine. Let's investigate those allegations, but you can't claim that those allegations are so serious when for decades, you've ignored law enforcement officials of the state of Arkansas, the same state where Bill Clinton was governor for 12 years total, and barring 2 years in the 80s. They came out and they said, oh, we were pimping for him. We were getting him hoes. That's what they were doing. This was his MO. And it was whether they were consenting or not. Their job was to get them in the room with the Clinton, with Bill Clinton. So I don't want to hear this crap about how it parallels Donald Trump. The allegations are worse because you're talking about a sitting governor that was doing these things, allegedly raped a woman, Juanita Broderick, while he was Attorney General, the highest law enforcement official in the state of Arkansas. Yeah, you don't think that that's a little more egregious than Roger Ailes when it's a law enforcement official? That's even more power, technically on a legal level, than somebody who, who runs a news network. Okay, maybe you don't think so, but on a technical level, yes, Bill Clinton was the more powerful case, and the woman didn't even work for him. He just raped her, according to her. And this is a woman, Michelle Goldberg, by the way, and this is what I'm going to get into, is one of those women that's part of that whole rape culture, fear-mongering movement that they were talking about, college campuses and the rape culture, and that there's these roves of predatory wolf-like men that are roving college campuses and raping women. And then there's another aspect I wanted to cover, which is the intimidation issue, which goes along with what I was just saying about those troopers. Okay, those troopers, they knew that the Clintons, they had these, this whole network of people that Bill Clinton was just screwing these women. Jennifer Flowers, he denied for a long time that he was having a long-standing affair with, I think she was a nightclub owner, not owner, she was just a nightclub singer, a lounge singer in Little Rock. He denied it. And what did they do, the Clintons, that you don't see any clear evidence yet of Donald Trump doing? They hired private detectives to follow these women, force them into silence, sign false affidavits that they didn't have sex with Bill Clinton or any improper contact with him. And they harassed him. They harassed them. These private eyes, Yvonne Duda, Terry Lensner, this isn't in the article yet. That's going to be part 2. They sent the Clintons, Hillary and Bill Clinton, contracted people to go around harassing these women. Kathleen Willey, that's when he was already in the White House. Broderick, you had Paula Jones. These were all women that were harassed systematically by the Clintons in order to keep them silent. Okay, that is the difference between them and Donald Trump, between Harvey Weinstein and Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. That you have, on the one hand, Donald Trump, yes, there might be things we don't know that he did, but we really don't know. In the case of Clinton and the Weinsteins, we do know, or the Clintons and the Weinsteins, sorry, I misstated it. But in those cases, there is clear evidence that they intimidated people. Courtney Love has come out and said that she was blackballed from the industry in the mid-2000s because she said on tape, if you're an actress in Hollywood, you should stay away from Harvey Weinstein. Okay? And then you have, together with that, you have the Clintons hiring private detectives, private investigators to go around harassing women that could possibly implicate Harvey Weinstein or implicate Bill Clinton in an affair or in a sexual assault, either one. So you tell me which is the worst one, okay? Because there's so little actual tangible evidence against Donald Trump yet. And I'm not one of these people that's a Trump zombie. I've criticized him. I published an article on my blog earlier this week. I mean, it's on my blog, so maybe you could say, oh, who cares? But I'm willing to give real tangible criticism on him and not descend into innuendos and things that just simply haven't been substantiated, okay? The left, they've been, or I don't even know if you can call them the left. People object to that. There's people on the left, liberals and progressives, that say, it's been all these years, and we do know that Bill Clinton is not just a philanderer, but he's a sexual predator. He is a sexual predator. This is somebody who he hasn't learned his lesson. He's some sort of his mistress. I have her book right here. Dolly Kyle. His mistress claims that she said to him at one point in the 80s that he's a sex addict, because she acknowledged that she was a sex addict and that he should seek treatment. Um, this is a person who his brother was caught on tape saying that he has a nose like a Hoover vacuum cleaner, meaning that he's a cocaine addict. That was at the time. Maybe he got clean from the cocaine. And that's while he was serving as the governor of Arkansas, putting people in prison for decades for drug-related crimes. So forget about the fucking sexual allegations. He's putting people into prison for selling drugs while he himself is addicted to them. This is such a departure point for the left, where they always claim that it's the Republicans that are the hypocrites, that they can't, there's all these closeted gay Republicans or whatever, like Larry Craig, who was instantly thrown out of the party and forced to resign. They keep claiming, oh, that's so classic. That's the Republican thing. Well, here you go. This is your Larry Craig, Harvey Weinstein, and Bill Clinton, and you have to own them and stop passing the buck because you don't have the balls to acknowledge that you have a real sickness in your own society. I called this, if you expect an introspection, you don't know it's a New York thing. And that's what I said about the New York Times and this Michelle Goldberg, this idiot that wrote this article about so-called Republican hypocrisy. It has nothing to do with hypocrisy. It has to do with the fact that you have this man who's a mega donor who encompassed everything about the culture and style of the Democratic Party. All of his big clients, and I don't know if they're clients, but they're his partners. The Affleck, Damon, and Clooney set. They're the same ones who are promoting this liberal agenda in Hollywood. And they've been revealed to be frauds, and not for the first time either. And I started off like this. I said, during the English Civil War, the supporters of the establishment and King Charles I were known for their brash and flamboyant manners as they trampled on the common folk while trying to preserve the monarchy. They were subsequently branded as Cavaliers, with explanation being as such. Several sorts of malignant men who were about the king, some were under the name of Cavaliers, without having respect to the laws of the land or any fear either of God or man, were ready to commit all manner of outrage and violence. And this is from a document from the 1600s. I use this example not to choose sides in that almost 400-year-old conflict, nor to attack the fans of the Cleveland Cavaliers, but to highlight this type of class-wide behavior that I saw displayed in the past week or so by the New York Times, Michelle Goldberg, among others. And I go into it. It's like this woman is clearly blind to the real significance of this event. I said in her piece, "Save the Phony Weinstein Outrage Republicans," she had the gall to claim that it is only members of the GOP that are looking at the liberal establishment, the liberal entertainment industry, as a den of iniquity where greed, lust, and pride are the only motivations and values sustained by its occupants. Like the original Cavaliers, such as the Lord Goring, the liberal media may be described as such. He would, without hesitation, have broken any trust or done any act of treachery to have satisfied an ordinary passion or appetite. And that's really the way it is. And with Goldberg, what's her passion? Her passion is character assassination. It's this purging of society. She's a fanatic. And fanatics, they may not have lust, and they may not have greed the way that Harvey Weinstein does, but they do have this bloodlust against people that they disagree with. And what she did, she wrote an article in The Nation from 2014. I think she still works at The Nation. I think she was a guest columnist for the Times. Well, she included the accounts of these rape accusers that were later found out to be, just liars. I don't know about the first one. The first one may have had These were women who they were not, so to speak, violently raped. They had sex with somebody while intoxicated. Okay, and that is one of the main fault lines now. Whether what constitutes a rape is intoxicated sex considered rape? Some people don't even know anymore. Okay, and um, in her article, she actually goes into the case of Emma Solkowitz, known today as Mattress Girl, for her so-called art project where she carried a mattress around for a semester. Um, who was she included her basically as one of the examples of women that they were not properly dealt with the campus investigation um, apparatus, even though her accuser was kicked out of school. The first accuser, not Solkowitz, her her alleged rapist was kicked out of the school after an appeals process. What else did she want? The campus doesn't have a full criminal justice system and a jail. They can't convict you of rape. Her accusation was that, oh, they want to keep it on the campus as well. Now it's gone the other way, and these schools end up having to investigate even further and basically harass people to no end under Title IX. But Solkowitz, her case was simply one where she accused somebody who did not want a relationship of raping her, and it was revealed that her account was fabricated. He was exonerated by the school. She ended up harassing him to no end for a number of years, and he ended up suing the school because he didn't do anything about it. So that's the type of story that Goldberg promotes. People that are just, they're out for blood. They want to strike back at a so-called rape culture, even though they don't even know themselves what rape is. And she goes into that. She starts saying, oh, in some cases they've got raped, but they don't even know it's rape. Well, if you don't know it's rape and you can't prove it in a court of law, and in some cases you end up accusing people of things that they didn't do, not just the rape, but other things where your account does not pass muster of an investigation, then it's possible that your charges will be dismissed. That's the way the criminal justice system works. So it's because of people like Goldberg and her counterpart at Rolling Stone, Sabrina Ardelli, that it came out, this story that is called a rape on campus. Let me see if I have my original reaction to it. Yeah, I have it. It's from 2015, Rolling Slander. Yeah, this was from the actual era um, of the rape on campus story. So all I'm trying to say here is that Michelle Goldberg, New York Times, how about a little humility here? You want to go and cape for the Democratic Party, say, fuck you guys, don't accuse us of being hypocrites. Well, you sustained this industry for years. You have people who are still card-carrying Democrats, huge supporters of the Democratic Party. They're in the front row at every event. Lena Dunham, Ben Affleck, and all that. Lena Dunham, first of all, is basically a rape hoaxer. She's been known, her account has been discredited, not by the conservative media, but by, I think it was Gawker, in fact, who they're not conservatives at all. They're the people that started harassing Sarah Palin at one time. Yeah, the liberal media needs to own up to the fact that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay, they will go and pretend for years and years that they've brought forward the cause of female emancipation and too many chat rooms, man, too many chats. They're always why do you have the word cavalier here? Why did I use the word cavalier? Because these are people that they get up on their high horse and they pretend for decades and decades that, oh, we are the people who are setting the standard for Hollywood. It's the George Clooney speech at the Oscars that was made fun of in South Park. That's the classic one, whether it's George Clooney or Meryl Streep or Brad Pitt or Leo DiCaprio. And I like a lot of their movies, and they had a good run, but it's over. Okay, you don't have any right anymore to stand before us and preside as our Scottish lords. It's over. We've opened our eyes to what you've really done to our society, and you've been complicit in creating this Harvey Weinstein phenomenon. It's not the Republicans who did it. Okay, there was a, I still see stories coming out about the Koch brothers or whatever. Well, the Koch brothers, whether you like it or not, the biggest crime that is being reported is that they just throw money at people to get their interests and to make more money. Okay, fine. You want to call that unethical? Call that unethical. You want to call that manipulative? Call that manipulative. What the fuck do you call these people who threw money at politicians for years, and they've been now revealed to be rapists and sexual harassers and in some cases assaulting people physically? And there's plenty of evidence now that there's other people involved in not just Harvey Weinstein, and pedophilia and things like that with the Corey Feldman issue. And who does the media step up to defend? Hollywood itself and the Democratic Party. It's disgusting, and I think that it shows that democracy in America and an open political system, that we have a long way to go before we get that back. And I'm not trying to tell you that there shouldn't be, if you're a liberal out there, if you're a Democrat out there, if I were you, I'd be starting to say we need a different political party. We need somebody else to represent us, somebody with a real record of integrity. A record of integrity. You never know if somebody has total integrity, but you can at least look at the record and look at what's going on. There was what Clinton did in the 80s. It says it in Dick Morris's book and in other places that there was the Gary Hart moment, where in 1988 or 1987, Democratic Senator I almost said Corey Hart, but no, it's Gary Hart from Colorado. He was accused by the media of having an affair. He dared them to find proof and follow him, and they did, and they found proof, and he ended up having to back out of the campaign. What did Clinton do as a result? He didn't stop cheating on his wife. He didn't stop harassing women. He didn't stop using state troopers to to troll for easy trim and to procure women for him. No, he didn't do that. He had his personal aide, Betsy Wright, compile a list of women that could possibly have material on him or come forward with accounts of an affair, and they were silenced. That's what he did. That was their change that they made. They didn't change their behavior. They changed their approach to their surroundings, and they started to make sure that this kingdom of this kingdom of lust and greed that they were erecting. And this is not a religious indictment. I'm just saying that that's what the Clintons did. They have a kingdom of lust and fear that they created in the 70s and 80s, where Clinton was using these troopers to get him those women. And in order to protect that, they started to intimidate these women. They started to follow them. They started to send personal detectives after them. And what was Clinton's conclusion from this? He didn't stop his behavior. He just kept going, kept getting even more reckless until, there was Kathleen Willey, a woman he groped in the White House. Can you imagine that? President Kennedy, they keep comparing John F. Kennedy to Bill Clinton. They keep saying, oh, yeah, Kennedy cheated on his wife in the White House too. Yeah, but he didn't grope or sexually assault a woman. He didn't sexually, he didn't do what he did with Monica Lewinsky, where this is a woman who was an intern around 21 years old working for him. Is this the feminist model where you take women that work for you, subordinates, and you use them basically as your playthings in the office? Because that's what he did. And then when his own aides and the people surrounding him said, no, you can't. And the Secret Service, another book I have, Gary Burns' Crisis of Character. He reveals that the Secret Service was well aware that Monica Lewinsky was not authorized to be in the West Wing of the White House, but Clinton would use a separate telephone line to bring her in. He would try to keep it off the books. They ended up having to transfer her to the Pentagon, and Clinton still tried to find ways to get her in order to give him sexual pleasure. That to me, there's so much documentation of it. There's Secret Service logs on it. And again, this is law enforcement. This is where there's a departure from the Donald Trump angle, and you have to go and say, what's more reliable? The accusations of a few women close to Election Day that don't have any law enforcement backing, or the accusations made by Kathleen Willey to the FBI that she was harassed by a jogger, or the accusations made by these state troopers against Clinton. That's again law enforcement. That's law enforcement, okay? There was the district attorney investigation into Harvey Weinstein. There was the documentation by the Secret Service of Monica Lewinsky's whereabouts, where she wasn't authorized to be in that wing of the White House. She wasn't authorized. You can't just walk in. You work in the White House. It doesn't mean you can walk everywhere throughout the White House. You need clearances. I can point again. I have this behind me. There's 2 books here: Unlimited Access and Crisis of Character. They will tell you all you need to know about how the Clintons, they basically treated the White House like their personal playpen, especially Bill, I guess. That's about it. Please, if you just joined me, save this podcast and watch it from the beginning. I'm going to take a look at the chat to see if I missed anything. Let me just silence this. Liza Jean, she says, hey, Bold, you are laying down an awesome legacy on TY. I don't know what TY is. But yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't, I do this stuff late at night, and then I have to eat dinner and go to bed for work. So please, once I log off, go back, watch from the beginning, read the first part of my blog, which is attached. You can probably read it while watching this. On YouTube. I get it. Yeah, I basically go through the fact that this false equivalence by the New York Times between the Weinsteins and Clinton on the one hand, they barely even mention Clinton, and Donald Trump. There is no equivalence. There is no equivalence. We're talking about here direct intimidation. We're talking about, in many cases, career assassination. In the Weinstein's case, and in Clinton's case too, he basically killed the career of Kathleen Willey. He also harassed his ex-mistress, Dolly Kyle, for years, forced her basically to get a new life. All of that stuff. And you know, I'm not a feminist. I just read books and I reach conclusions based on the individuals here. And you know, do I think that Dolly Kyle? I don't know what their relationship was. Did she deserve what she got? No. Did Monica Lewinsky deserve what she got? It doesn't matter if you think what she did was right in the White House, you know, giving blowies to Bill Clinton. Did she deserve to be treated like some sort of two-bit whore? I don't think so. Bill Clinton was a two-bit whore. His wife, who sold the interests of the United States to China and other countries, is a two-bit whore. It's equal on both levels. So that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to my channel. Share this podcast. I think this is one of the more focused podcasts I've had lately. So I greatly appreciate it if you shared it. And, you know, let me know your opinion. And have a great night and happy Wednesday.